The views and opinions of the host and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network. Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Guardian Radio AM. My name is Christopher Parker. I'm your host, and joined today by Arlington the Great, my producer. Arlie, if you could, there's a feedback that I'm getting. If you could handle that, I would be most grateful for. So, as usual on Guardian Radio AM, what we deal with on this platform is an opportunity to look at an international story of consequence, something that's made headlines, and to have an opportunity to chat about it and to see what sort of impact that story might have on us here in the Bahamas, and also to get your thoughts as Bahamians on what the stories might mean. We are delighted to speak with you in all of your glory and all of your wisdom and all of the wonderful things you have to contribute to the conversation. You can call us at 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. You can send us your text messages at 422-4796 and jump in. Share with us what your thoughts are on what we are chatting about here today. Today, I'm going to talk about a couple of different stories. And the first one that I want to touch on is a story about mob rule, mob violence and mob justice. And I think you'll understand why I thought this story was interesting when once we get into it a little bit. So out of Mexico, a politician has been lynched after rumors were circulated about him on WhatsApp. So according to the BBC, authorities say Daniel Picazo, a 31-year-old Mexican political advisor, has been killed by a lynch mob after child kidnapping accusations were spread on messaging groups. Authorities report that Picazo was attacked and beaten by a crowd of around 200 people in the central state of Puebla. He had been visiting the town of Papatlatzolco when he was cornered by the mob before being dragged into a local field and set on fire. Now, Mr. Picazo was visiting his grandfather's house in that town. Again, I'm going to try, I think it's Papalatzolco, when rumors began to spread on local WhatsApp group chats that he had been involved in the kidnapping of a child. According to the local media in the area, the mob then cornered and attacked Mr. Picazo and his two companions before dragging him into a field. Jesus have mercy. Police attempted to intervene and placed him in a patrol car, but were quickly overwhelmed by villagers who doused Mr. Picazo in petrol before setting him alight. His body was later recovered by authorities, and a statement. The city council said that it strongly disapproves of the act and reiterates that criminal behavior must be judged under the procedures of our rule of law. The competent authorities are already investigating what happened to determine responsibility. Authorities have yet to arrest anyone in connection with the attack. Mob justice, the reporter says, is not uncommon in parts of Mexico, particularly in more remote areas where police are slow to arrive. And in fact, Mr. Picazo is the second person lynched in the state of Puebla this year. And in 2019, 7 men were beaten and burned alive by a mob also in the state of Puebla. Now, folks who are aware the way I like to manage airtime, you know that when we talk about things like this, it's very serious, but it's also infuriating. The local officials called it an act of barbarism. But what I want to focus on is that this man was attacked, beaten, set on fire, and burned to death based solely on what people read on WhatsApp and in WhatsApp family groups. I'm going to say it again, because in this here Bahamas, I suspect that we are pretty close to this line. This is a man who was killed by a lynch mob based purely on accusations spread on WhatsApp that he had been involved in the kidnapping of a child. The parallels draw themselves, ladies and gentlemen. We have it seems to me, let me rephrase rather than make it a definitive statement. It seems to me that we have a lynch mob in the country, and that there are people whose livelihoods and reputations are affected and put at risk, and in some cases taken away, purely because of such flimsy evidence as accusations spread via social media. Now, this story was only published about 5 hours ago, so of course, it's still a developing story. But there is no evidence in any of the reporting around this story to confirm whether Mr. Picasso was in fact involved with the kidnapping of a child. There was no to any investigation or any information that confirmed that he was guilty of the things that the mob had accused him of. But the mob did not require proof. The mob did not require evidence. The mob required only momentum. The parallel with what is going on in the US at this moment, yesterday was day 2 of the Senate hearings regarding the January 6th insurrection. The parallels are there to be drawn. January 6th was not a question of whether or not there was definitive evidence that the election had been stolen. Of course, the election hadn't been stolen. But the people who were living and dying by their social media and by their closed media circles did not require any proof or any independent substantiation of evidence outside of their circle to storm the Capitol, and 5 people died during the January 6th incursion. Just so we keep ourselves, keep the conversation honest. When we want to say, oh, it was no big deal, but 5 people lost their lives. And still, you hear the former president, Donald Trump, talking about a kangaroo court and saying that it was a political witch hunt. But Dick Cheney's daughter, Lynn, Republican Senator Lynn Cheney, is one of the people who are conducting, and she's been very much tough on Mr. Trump and his colleagues who have tried to cast what happened on January 6th as no big deal. And just to stir up the pot a little bit to talk about how important information is and how important where you get your information is. Consider that during these hearings, Fox News has not taken any commercial breaks. Now, if you're familiar with how TV or radio works as a profit model, you know that it's the commercials that make the money. At top dollar to have their products seen and sold in prime time. And Fox is willing to give up prime time advertising dollars, Fox News, in order to maintain their viewers' attention so that their viewers do not have even the opportunity to change the channel and get a different perspective. That's how important your information source is. And that's how critically and how deliberately the purveyors of information are employing the channels that they have built in order to control the narrative. This Mexican politician was lynched and killed. 200 doused this man with gasoline and lit him on fire after rumors spread in WhatsApp messaging groups. I bring it up because I believe that we are headed down that road. And I think it's clear that the kinds of things that have been done to politicians, to journalists, to regular people on our social media platforms, including WhatsApp, we're just a hop, skip, and a jump away from that kind of lynching. And I think it's important that we talk about it. I think it's something that we need to call out. And I think it's something that we need to pay attention to, because God forbid, it's one of your family or one of your close friends who is attacked and beaten and killed by a crowd of people based on unfounded, unproven rumors spread through social media messaging. So yeah, love to hear what you think about that. As I say, you can check us out as usual. You can call us at 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. You can send us your text messages at 422-4796. And while we have that, while we have a moment of pause, I'm going to switch to the next story that I wanted to flag really quick. But just in case, still would love to have call and check in on chime in on that mob, the lynch mob killing the guy in Mexico over social media rumors. God help us all. For you, Ali, if you could check the message box. And in this time of war in the Ukraine, and we are stressing ourselves. Oh dear. Okay, well, I guess before we go to that one, before we go on to the what's going on in Taiwan with regard to Taiwan, not in Taiwan, This texter says, great show as usual. Suppose the man is innocent. Fake news, nation kills. Texter, I think you're 100% correct. And I think that's where we are. We are living in a society where your name and your safety are at risk just by virtue of what somebody puts out to their social media circle. And if it gains any traction, they can literally come for you. And what do you do? Young Mr. Picasso is 31 years old, was 31 years old. He's dead now. When the information, and he's proven to have been innocent, and it's proven that he had nothing to do with this kidnapping. Those 200 people who killed him by beating him, dousing him with gasoline, and setting him on fire. I mean, how do they live with themselves? And the other side of the coin is, even if it's true, they didn't know that. They were only going on what was said on social media. No due process. No protection of anybody's rights. We just go in. I mean, that's not even the wild, wild west. That's dangerous. This one says, Q, here is what needs to happen. People who spread these lies on social media that result in assaults, killings, etc., need to be charged as an accessory to the crime. Texter, I thank you for your point. I agree with you 179%. This one says, great show as usual. Well, thank you. Thank you all very much for that. It actually did happen. Look at Mr. Gibson. His political career is dead because of fake news. Well, I mean, it's certainly true to say that that his political career, has been affected by what has been said. I don't know if I would go as far as the texter, but I'm sorry, I'm chuckling at the next text. Sorry, not at the last one. This one says, hi, Mr. Parker. I can see that The Guardian give you your own show. Well, thank you. On Sunday afternoons called The Political Review. And this is fun. So anyway, the text goes on to say, Mr. Parker, I think that guy must have had some other evidence for him to kill that man so brutally. That's my intake. I hear you, texter, but it wasn't just one man who did it. That's the point. The point is, it was a mob of around 200 people who dragged the man into a field. And even when the police tried to protect the man by putting him into their car, the people still managed to throw gasoline on the man and light him on fire. So this wasn't one person acting on evidence that they may have had access to that nobody else did. This was a mob, a group of people behaving as though they had the right to dispense justice because of something they in social media. This one says, great show as usual. You know what, I'm just gonna, on behalf of Dwight Strawn, the station manager for Guardian Talk Radio, thank you all for saying the show is great. This one says, he was tried and judged by public opinion. Boy, I tell you. And public opinion ain't no, I mean, you texted, you're right. There's no guarantee that public opinion is correct. Public opinion could have been wrong. My suspicion is that public opinion will be proved to be wrong as the story continues to be told. The story is only 5 hours old. This one says, can we really compare our society with somewhere like Mexico, where there are drug cartels, kidnapping, and in general, a total lack of law and order? I would like to ask that question to the wider audience. Texter, I understand the point you're trying to make, but I think is that if you believe that there are no drug cartels in the Bahamas, and if you believe that we are paragons of law and order, I think that you are living a very privileged life. And I won't say you're wrong, because that the life that you are living is the life that you are living, and what your experiences are yours, and they're true for you. But I think the comparison is there for a great many people in our country. Yes, that's my honest answer to you. This one says, sir, I agree social media is dangerous. You say, I say can even lead to loss of life. That's the whole point of the story, right? Sorry, texter, interrupting the text with my own comments there. The texter continues to say, gossiping is a culture in this country that ruins many lives. If we bring criminal charges against persons caught smoking a joint, and we should do the same to persons. Smoking a joint hurts who? Caller, you make a point. Sorry, caller. Texter, you make a good point. This one says, on a daily basis, Mexicans are fleeing that country to breach the borders of the USA. Corruption galore in that country. Can we really compare our country to that country? Yes, of course we can. Not one for one. Not everything will be a direct comparison, but that's the point of having conversations like this, is to make that comparison. And where it seems that we are looking like a country like Mexico, that should be red light for us. That should be a warning sign. That should be an alarm for us. That should cause us to put on the brakes and say, wait a minute, that is not the direction in which we want to go. This one says, morning, y'all. A few days ago in Grand Bahama, a woman falsely called rape on an innocent young man who came to the beach to exercise. Not sure if her actions were intentional or she was overly paranoid, but her actions almost cost a young man his freedom. She exposed his car on social media and spread like wildfire, putting his reputation and character and his life at risk. As a country, what recourse can citizens take after this gross misuse of social media? Texter, you illustrate the point very well. My only recommendation is that if you perceive that you're a victim of some misuse of social media, you should immediately file a complaint with the cybercrimes unit, because they will be able to assist you in trying to vindicate yourself. Yeah, there's a cybercrimes unit in the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, and that's their job. That's what they do. All right. So, okay. Oh dear. This person, I'll just read it. It says, I want the government to do something about people sending pictures of dead bodies. That should be a crime. text, I feel you 150% on that. I don't necessarily think the police need to be involved, but there should be some standard here, because that ain't for everybody. So, with the last 15 minutes of the show, man, okay. So what I'll do is I'll just flag these next two stories really quickly, and we'll talk about them going forward. But weeks after the U.S. President Joe Biden warned China over Taiwan, Beijing has delivered its sternest rebuttal yet, saying that it would resolutely crush any attempt at Taiwan's independence. Why is this important to us? This is important to us. The Commonwealth of the Bahamas recognizes Taiwan as an independent nation, which places us at distinct odds with China, who argues that Taiwan is a rogue province. So on Sunday, China's Defense Minister General Wei Fenghe, I'm hoping I pronounced that right, accused the U.S. of supporting the island's independence, saying that it was violating its promise on Taiwan and interfering in China's affairs. So General Wei said, and I'm going to quote him as quoted in the BBC this morning, "Let me make this clear," he said. "If anyone dares to secede Taiwan from China, we will not hesitate to fight. We will fight at all costs, and we will fight to the very end. This is the only choice for China." This is in response to Biden's comment recently that China was flirting with danger by flying its warplanes close to Taiwan, and Biden's promise that the U.S. would protect Taiwan militarily if it was attacked. This kind of posturing by some countries would just be something that you raise your eyebrow at. But given who's involved, this is the US and China, who are jockeying for position as the supreme superpower in the modern world. And we ought to pay very close attention to any suggestion of conflict between these two, because before they go to war, the economic jockeying between the two is going to ramp up. And the Bahamas is stuck right in the middle. We sit on the shipping lane, the transatlantic shipping lane, the most accessible one from North America across to Europe and then up to Asia, runs right. That's why the Freeport Container Port is always so busy. We are one of the strongest economies in the Caribbean and Central America, which means that we are a natural hub for business, and especially businesses in the financial services and logistics. And so we will undoubtedly, I think, be a sort of a playing field for whatever skirmishes exist between China and the US if they start really ramping up to a war footing over Taiwan. That would be horrible, and it would put us in a position, I mean, geopolitically, obviously, it would be very simple for us, given that we are tied so closely to America, and we've already recognized Taiwan's independence anyway. But given how close we are becoming to China as well, the tug of war between the two, the tug of war between the two is going to be problematic for us. Yeah. This text asks a very interesting question. How come Taiwan and China have beef? All two of the people look alike. They have to be cousins. Well, Taiwan seceded or purported to secede from China, established itself as a sovereign nation. But China continues to claim that Taiwan is just a rogue state in China. Okay. This one says, oh, that's an interesting text. This says, Quincy, you are just about right in most of what you cover. Yet you will never see Bahamians in this present day and time doing what they do in Mexico for one simple reason. The present day Bahamians will not effectively and cohesively work together as a group for whatever reason. The type of Bahamians leading up to the days of the Burma Road riot are non-existent today. They are either dead or were bred out. Wow. I hear you, Tex. Wow, I did that. Good Lord. Okay, so we're going to take a short break here, folks. And when we come back, we'll wrap up the show. You're listening to Guardian Radio AM, and I am your delighted host, K. Quincy Parker, excited to be with you on this wonderful Tuesday morning. We'll be right back after this.
Local paper in Grand Bahama as a section of the Nassau Guardian. Available at local stores, gas stations, pharmacies, Western Bakery, and Bellevue Gifts. Daily and, of course, on Tuesdays, too. Want to reach your Grand Bahama audience? Then call Barefoot Marketing at 827-4578 or message them for ad rates via their Facebook page. Advertising opportunities now include classified ads, too. Keep up with all the latest Grand Bahama news in the Guardian newspaper every Tuesday.
We're not always able to see the storms in life approaching, but we can take the necessary steps to be prepared to ensure the safety of ourselves, our loved ones, and our property. This hurricane season, trust J.S. Johnson Insurance Agents and Brokers. We'll be here to help you get back on track in your time of need. Call 397-2100 or visit jsjohnson.com. J.S. Johnson Insurance Agents and Brokers, giving you peace of mind.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
Good morning. Welcome back to, so used to the other time. Good morning and welcome back to Guardian Radio AM. My name is K. Quincy Parker. I'm your host for this wonderful hour where we take a national story and consider the ramifications for us here in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. That's what we do on Guardian Radio AM. Today, we're talking about mob justice as fueled by social media, and we're also talking about the fact that the U.S. and China are sort of posturing uh, uh, about Taiwan, and both sides are flexing muscles, and China is talking about being willing to fight at all costs and fight till the very end in order to make sure that Taiwan is claimed by China. And Taiwan, of course, has considered itself a sovereign nation. I can't remember when they declared sovereignty, but it's only in this century. And the Bahamas recognized them, as did the United States and some other countries. And there's some challenges. There are some real challenges. This texter says, Q, we are hitting too close to China. I say we get more Taiwanese investors into our country. If I recall correctly, I'm pretty sure Mr. Ingram, former Prime Minister Hubert Ingram, went to Taiwan for that very purpose. And I think that there's some geopolitics involved that's above my pay grade, obviously, but I see something there, given the fact that China, through the China state company, was the one to invest in Bahama, and so yeah, it'd be very interesting. I don't know if we're going to get Taiwanese investments in the country while we have Chinese investments, because geopolitics is like that. So it'll be interesting to see. As I say, that's above my pay grade. So hopefully somebody from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs or even Economic Affairs who is listening might be able to give us a bit of insight on that. This texter says, that's where you're wrong. We ain't in no difficult Chinese food, but we ain't fighting no one. You think we giving up going to Walmart? That will never happen. You stand with the USA, but we ain't fighting. Texter, I hear you. And I wasn't suggesting for a moment that we would. I was simply asking the question because it's something that we have to think about. Even if we know where our bread is buttered, we still have to consider whether that's nutritious, whether that does us good. This texter says, good morning. I would like to know why China and the US has set up their army bases in the Bahamas at all of our forts. Are we in the middle of a future war? And this text says China is taking a page out of Russia's playbook. The texter who talked about China and the U.S. setting up military bases in the Bahamas at our forts will have to provide some elaboration on that at another time. We got 4 minutes left, but something that I would like to explore. With the last few minutes, I just want to flag this other story about inflation in the U.S. being super high. Here's the short version. Last year, businesses around the world started raising prices at a pace not seen in decades. And among major economies, one country was hit the worst, the United States. Prices jumped at an annual rate of 4.7% in 2021. That was faster than any other country in the group of 7 or G7 advanced economies. In the UK, for example, inflation was just 2.5%. Last month, inflation in the US hit 8.6%, one of the highest in the world. Many of the forces driving inflation last year, like the supply disruptions from COVID, higher food prices after severe storms, and drought-hurt harvests were not unique to the U.S., but the reason that the U.S. fared worse was because of high demand. That demand was driven by massive $5 trillion in spending that the US government approved to shield households and economic shock of the pandemic. I hope you're listening. Government spending drove high demand, which boosted the US inflation rate to the highest, one of the highest in the world. I hope that makes sense to our listeners. So we're going to stop the story there, and thank everybody for joining us today. I'm working on a story to share with you guys. I want to do a show on Jean-Bertrand Aristide and reparations, and it's a fascinating look at the way the former colonial powers have worked over the century, really, to keep their former colonies in a position of subservience. We would start with France and Haiti, and then we'll go around, we'll go around the block and see how things have been. But I think there is a conversation to be had about reparations, and it's something that we haven't really taken seriously, I don't think. So thank you for joining us. After the news, Juan McCartney is up next with The Revolution. You know that we are all colleagues of his. We are all comrades of his, and because we shake with indignation. And so we'll see you next week. God bless.